So hello there and welcome to Ívar's Fly Workshop. Today I'm not gonna tie any flies, but we are going to have a little look at my favorite location for fly fishing. But this is the lake which is kind of in my backyard. It's within an hour away from where I live, and it's called Sauðlauksdalsvatn. I know it's hard to pronounce, but don't worry about that. I will inform you if you come to Iceland. This is definitely one of the spots I would fully recommend to fish. It's beautiful and all that. And yeah, this lecture about the Sauðlauksdalsvatn was held for full audience in Reykjavik about a year ago, and I was going to perform it at least once for an angling club, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, that wasn't possible. So that's why we are doing it online. So basically, everybody can have a look. So let's have a look at the slides. I've fished the lake in about 30 years now, since I've been living here in the area almost my whole life. And it's right to mention that the lecture, especially about the ecosystem in the lake, it's based on my experience as an angler for 3 decades. It's not based on any scientific research. And it's right to announce that this lecture is in cooperation with Veiðikortið, but if you buy Veiðikortið, you're automatically buying a license for Sauðlauksdalur and 35, I think, other lakes in Iceland. So, little bit about myself. Who am I? My name is Ívar Hauksson, and I'm from Bíldudalur. I'm raised here in the Westfjords, in the region of Westfjords, and I've been fishing and hunting for over 30 years. I've been working as a driver guide with tourists during the summertime. I've done commercial fishing in my life, and I finished Masters in Law in 2019, and I'm working in that category right now. And I run this YouTube channel, Ívar's Fly Workshop, online. So here's a picture of me fishing in the springtime. But where is Sauðlauksdalur Lake or Sauðlauksdalsvatn Lake? Most of you guys who are not local here in Iceland don't know that, most likely, but Sauðlauksdalur is situated in the Westfjord region in Patreksfjörður. I will show you here with my mouse, but where I'm pointing the mouse here, just where the tip of the mouse or the pointer is, that's where the lake is located. And it takes you about, it's about 5-hour drive from Reykjavik, and in total it's nearly 400 kilometers or 394 kilometers or 244 miles. So here we have an aerial satellite picture of the valley and of the lake, and you can see the sand reef here, the remains of the old airport here, and the road that goes here, and you take a left turn into the valley and park here by the lake. But the road that goes further on will go to Örlygshof, to the museum there, and to Látrabjarg, which is like a really popular destination for visitors who are visiting the southern part of the Westfjord, especially to try to catch some decent pictures of the puffins. And here is another better image, like a closer up image of the lake, and you can see the circle around the lake. It's like it's white sand, basically. This stuff here in the mountain, it's white sand. It's white sand all over here. So it's a unique lake on the scale of Iceland, because there is no other lake like this in the country. And yeah, before we carry on with the lecture, we will have to have a little bit of a look at the history about the valley. There are references about inhabitants in the valley ever since the year 1200, and there's supposed to be a church there ever since the year 1200. Around 1750, that's the picture here, or the drawn picture, Sauðlauksdalur was like a decent farm, and the most famous pastor living there was Björn Halldórsson, and he was he did a lot of stuff. He was educated as a botanist, and he was perhaps one of the first person here in Iceland to grow potatoes. But and this plant here, this is, I don't know how to pronounce it in Latin, but this is called Sauðlaukur in Icelandic, and that's where the name of the valley comes from, Sauðlauksdalur. It's seaside arrowgrass in English. But on with the history. Björn priest, he built like a large stacked up fence to prevent sand from blowing on his land, and this fence, you can see the remains here where I'm pointing with the mouse. This fence was like a obligation to the farmers in the area to help the priest to build it, and they called it raunglautur simply because they thought it was unfair, and it was like few hundred meters long, so it must have been quite a work to put it up, and quite a structure in its time. 1750 till 1780 took them close to 30 years to construct it. But remains can still be found of the fence today. But raunglautur means unadjustable. What's the name of the fence? So and it has maybe for a good reason for those poor farmers who were obligated to work for Björn. And we have to go back to fishing, and that's what the lecture is basically about. But allowed bait and tackle in the lake. That's of course fly, and you can fish there with worm and then some spinners and some equipment like that. You can fish there 24/7, and you can fish from when the ice goes off the lake and until into the autumn. There are no other restrictions on that. So basically you can, if you're lucky, you can start fishing in March or February if it's like warm enough. But usually I'd say April. And it's quite slow fishing still in April. There are no facilities by the lake, and the nearest facilities are at the Narrator Museum. That's like 15 minutes drive away from the lake. You can camp by the lake, but you must keep in mind there are no facilities there. Fishing there during the evening, that's absolutely my favorite. And of course, you can camp by the lake. Driving off-road is forbidden by law, and it's not allowed to fish in the river that runs into the lake. And how to get permits to fish there, that's like I said before, it's on the veiðikortið or the fishing card. It's a matter of, I don't know, $50, $60 US or so. And it gives you access to 35 or 36 lakes all over the country. And it's a seasonal card, so it's a pretty good deal for us anglers here in Iceland. And you guys if you're coming to Iceland. These pictures are taken in August 2019. This is like a disgraceful behavior of some anglers. I don't know whom, but they were not local. And they left the parking lot just like a mess, beer cans and cigarette butts all over the place. And then I stumbled upon this in the lake. It's mackerel, squid, which I probably used for bait, and there is a head here of a browntrout, and this is something which I'll be just go mad if somebody would leave stuff like this here just by my feet, and I insist to people fishing in Iceland that they leave nothing but their footprints around the fishing spots. On with the show. Which time in the lakes are like part of the season is best? Is it spring, midsummer, or autumn? I don't know. based on my experiences, you can catch fish there already in February. I caught a fish in February. My friend, caught a fish there in February, but it was in a warm season, so maybe it doesn't count. Normally, it doesn't start until kind of April, when you can find buy one fish, and then middle of May, it's starting to pick up, and from the end of May and into June, that's like the prime time of the lake. July is fine, and August is like, there's like plants and stuff growing in August, so there are some parts of the lake which you cannot fish during that time, but there are as well spots which have no plants or weed, so you can fish them. September is like a wild card in the lake. You can get lucky in September with sea trout and the local browntrout, but there are pretty high chances to get skunked in September as well. So it all depends on the season, of course. Spring in Iceland doesn't start like in April, it's not like Europe or America. So it's different here. We are way further north than those countries, and it's affect the ecosystem here, and everything is like slower to wake up to life and stuff. So I would say, May is my favorite month in the lake. Then there are no plants and stuff in May, and the fish is pretty aggressive and hungry during that time of the season. Now to the ecosystem of the lake. There are actually all the natural wild freshwater species that are to be found in Iceland, except the Atlantic salmon. We have them in the lake. We have the brown trout, and I would say the brown trout is on the top of the food chain in the lake. Like below the surface, and sometimes it feeds on the other fishes. Sometimes it's eating the Arctic char, the smaller Arctic char, and as well the sticklebacks. So flies with something olive streamers, they work very well. The sea trout in the lake that just does like sea trout does. It comes and goes. It's like it's like a yo-yo. Sometimes in and out to the lake and to the sea and back. It's like a first sign of spring when you catch those. It's usually the first fish you find or catch at the sea run trout. The Arctic char here, we have both like a local Arctic char and then the sea run Arctic char. So there are two species in the lake, and they are different. The local one, the local Arctic char, has like this red or yellow color on its belly, but the sea run Arctic char looks more like the silvery color of the sea run trout. Then we have, of course, eels and sticklebacks and stuff, but the Arctic char is mostly feeding on pubas and larvas, flies, sticklebacks, and stuff like that, and snails that lives in the lake. There's a special type of snails and stuff. And beside that, we have like a great variation of bird life, both on the lake and around the lake. It's like not like a swamp, but it's like a marsh, like a wet land a bit. So there are lots of interesting birds who nest there during the summertime, and by you can find mammals like the Arctic fox here, very cute, and sometimes the loon and the redneck diver and swans, and then variations of types of ducks as well. And you see this picture. There is a big Arctic char here in the middle, and then there's one right there and one here. So you have like flanks of sand by which are visible, and sometimes you see the fish simply just swim over, and then just, of course, try your luck. Just prepare your cast and cast on it and see what happens. Definitely worth it. But to the ecosystem, again, what the fish basically feeds on, that's those types of snail. Radix baltica, that's those creatures here. I don't know what's the English name for it, but it's called bobbi, vatnabobbi in Icelandic. That's one of the species in the lake. We do have sticklebacks, like I showed you before, and they can grow up to like decent size. I don't know, 5 centimeters maximum, maybe. And then we have some larvas and pupas. There are beetle types in the lake, and then of course gnats and midges and lots of many types of flies, which is excellent for the fish to feed on. But the problem with the lake is, like in many, like probably lakes in the world, when it comes into the midsummer, the fish starts to get really picky on what it takes, because the competition on food, it has all those food to pick from, and you have to sometimes go down to size 16, down to even 20, to be part of the pot that the fish is feeding from, really. Sometimes if you have size 12 or 14, you're just not with the pot, and you will not catch anything with those sizes. Where are the prime fishing spots? I will answer that. That's where the fish are, definitely, of course. But the prime fishing spots are, of course, where the fish is. But I'm going to show you some spots here on a map, just in a few minutes. This picture here is taken in August 2019. The water sometimes get warm enough so you can just stand out in it just barefoot on your short casting a fly. It's just like kind of like non-Icelandic experience, but it happens. There are few days during the season that this is possible. And those are the fish we caught that day. They all ended safe and sound on the barbecue. It's a delicious food, the Arctic char, absolutely. And here is a map of or like a road map of the lake. You can come driving in here, and the yellow road here leads you up to the church. We are not going there fishing, unless if you want to try, but you'll be taking like a left turn off the road here, down here to the parking spot. And this junction here between, that is like not available anymore, because this is like a land that lots of birds are nesting on, and this you won't even see trail marks or anything. So don't drive between here. Just get back to the road and down that way, because that way is safe. And you can park here and fish the lower part of the lake. And of course, just anywhere here, stop your car and just walk the shore and then try your luck with the fish. But during the early season, it's this is like the area which I'm fishing, like in April and May. Usually the beginning of May I'm fishing this part. It's more likely to catch something there rather than up here where the river runs into the lake. But it's like we say, depends. And when it comes into the season, I will say this part is like here, that's like a hotspot for the Arctic char, and all the hill here, like beneath the mountain hill, that's like a really good brown trout spots. But like I said, it's just, you can fish all around the lake. That's allowed, of course, unless not in the river here above, but there is fish spread all over the place. So it's just yours to find it, and if you see a fish rising, just go there and cast, do some cast on it and try and see if it's gonna be interested in your fly. Here we have a satellite picture of the lake, and you see the sandbank here. It's like the really nice stand which you can get, and you just wait, I don't know, leave like 2 meters, don't go all the way to the sandbank, to the edge of it, simply because it can run. That's one hazard. And the second thing, there is often just fish right by the bank, so it's really neat to fish just short casts first and scan the area that way, and then give it a longer cast. But yeah, the red X I marked on the map, those are like spots. It's not quicksand, but it's like a pit that you may sink a little bit into. And I will highly recommend that if you start to sink just a tiny bit, just take a step back and get yourself out of that spot. And it's right here by the parking lot. It's not like a great fishing spot either, because it's shallow and there's a lot of plants and stuff. There are only tiddlers here and you'll sink there, so it's not like a prime spot. And then there is another one here under the hill under the mountain hill. There is a water that runs down from the hill, and it's just get the sand soft in some spots, and this particular spot is like danger. I just pumped down there just on my like a knee depth, so I needed kind of like a help to get out of the spot. So those are the two spots to keep in mind if you come to Iceland and fish the lake. And yeah, then that's the big question of the life: what flies to pick? I'm a fly fishing, I fly fish only today. It's just my method. I gave up on bait and spinner fishing many years back, and I'm using only the fly fishing method today. But those patterns here, like the middle, teal blue and silver, teal and black, the krókurinn, which is an Icelandic pattern, pheasant tail, dagbjört, which is on the channel, which you can find videos on the channel, fiðrildið, or the pedersen butterfly. I will just put a video on that very soon in how to tie those beauties. And then some sunkers and some streamers. Those are all like valuable flies for the lake. And then this page here, something like classic wet flies like alder, butcher, and on some pubas, madler minnow, nobblers, heimasætan flæðamus, dýrbítur, and some those streamers, and then those tiny little midges or pubas. Herdís is probably one of the way strongest fly. Herdís engjaflugan is an excellent fly for the lake. Peter Ross, light spruce. It's just, yeah, this is what I would suggest to take to the lake. And if there is one fly on this page, which let's say two flies that I would not leave behind, that would be herdís and dagbjört. You can skip the rest because you will have a really good success with those two if you fish them correctly. More about flies, just some pubas and some army of nymphs, and then some streamers, woolly buggers, and nobblers and stuff like that. It's all gonna work there. So now we are going to have a little look at some pictures of the lake and fishing in the lake. This is the average size of the trout in the lake. This is like from 1 till 2 pounds, sometimes 3. Just depends, and sometimes you can find way bigger fish, but that's like rare, I would say. I've only caught one like that, and that's like a 5 kilograms trout. It's like 10 pounds, almost. Here I am on the right, and my son Bjarki on the left with those Arctic chars that he caught on this rod number 3. Everything on the Griffith's net dryfly. It was an remarkable evening we will never forget. Here I am, just chilling with the fish on, of course. It's a picture that a friend of mine from the law school took 2 years back. It's a really good picture, probably the best fishing picture ever taken of me. And here I'm fishing with Alex Henwald. He is German, and he came here to Iceland with his friends, and he's a fishing maniac. He's worse than I am, like far worse than I am. He fishes every single minute that he has off, and he's truly a fishing maniac. And I was teaching them just basic instructions on fly casting there. And it took me like about 15-20 minutes for him to, show him the methods. And he said to me, Ívar, I think I understand how to do this. And I borrowed in my spare rod, and he put on a fly that he tied himself. And within 2 minutes, he caught a fish. and that's this fish here. As you see, Alex is really happy about this, and I never taught or schooled anybody so quickly. But he has it in his blood, he's German. They're pretty clever, so they're really, it's funny how good success he made with this fly here. It's like kind of like a brownish black woolly bugger that he tied on some exhibition in Germany, because he went on some fishing exhibition where you could try to tie your own fly, and this is his only fly he ever tied, and he caught a fish on it just within 2 minutes. So it was absolutely to make his day. And yeah, this is Ingi and his son Ívar. This is not a picture from the lake, but the reason we are placing it here is simply that to announce that Sauðlauksdalur is an excellent lake for beginners, because there are no trees, no banks or anything to destroy or cast, and it's relatively, I would say, easy to catch a fish. So I would say definitely, if you're a beginner, this is one of the lakes to go with a beginner into, to catch their interest in the sport. Absolutely. Yeah, look at him. He's definitely gonna be just like his father, Ingi, and yeah, it's very promising to take your kids out and show them how this stuff works. I'm happy that Ingi is my fishing partner, and this is his son, and yeah, so my knowledge is passed down the generation through my friends. I'm really happy about that. Here I am mixing up the cast a little bit, but yeah, who cares? I caught fish that day, and sometimes when you stand in the lake for, like in the same spot for long enough time, there are some Arctic chars, like those baby sausage sized, like I call them, hot dog sized Arctic char, that come and say hello to you. Basically, they swim around you even. It's just curiosity, I think, and then they just go out again. This is not a setup or anything. This is just a fish that I noticed and took up my phone to take a picture of it. This is like, yeah, those are the evenings in Sauðlauksdalur. About 10 p.m. and it's really nice to fish from 10 p.m. into like 2 a.m. Make it 4 hours fishing and try your luck with a dryfly in this. You can see there's a fish here. There's another fish rising here. There's a fish beneath here, and then here. And it's just basically like a boiling pot. It's just fish all over the place. I love those nights when it's like this. Here's a fish that I caught a few years back. It's a 3-pound brown trout caught on a fly like a teal blue and silver, so it's like a really good pattern for the lake. And just for as a fun fact, this float was just swimming in front of me last season, and there was a fish attached to the float that somebody else caught but broke his line. So I decided to try to hook the float with my fly line and my tippet and my fly. I was aiming, of course, for the clip here, but I scored like a bullseye just in the eye of the float. And this is not a fake picture. This happened actually, and a friend of mine, David, from the law school, he was witness to this. And yeah, sometimes stuff like this happens when I'm fishing. It's funny to share it with you guys. And yeah, like my mentor said always about this lake, within there are hogs and cows. And what he meant by that, hogs and cows, that means big fish. As this Arctic char is, this is like a 3-kilogram Arctic char. This is just as big as they get in the lake. This is like a 2-liter Coca-Cola bottle here. So you can imagine the size of the fish. Here is Ingi on the right, my fishing partner for life, and then Jón, my mentor in fly fishing. Thanks for everything, Jón. He just absolutely great teacher, great character as well. They were here fishing, and this is like the last time Ingi met Jón before Jón passed in 2015. And we cannot have a lecture about the lake without mentioning both here Jón Sigurðsson on the right and Jón Pedersen on the left. But both of them, they were like masters of the lake. They mastered the lake, both dry fly fishing and nymphing, and made a great success in the lake. I was lucky enough to learn from those two guys, especially Jón Sigurðsson. He was kind of like my mentor, both in fly casting and fly fishing, and of course fly tying. He was a master in fly tying. But same with Jón. They are both known in Iceland for their abilities and their flies, because they are just fabulous patterns. Some of them are to be found on my channel, of course, but some of them are just on the way. I'm just making recordings and stuff to show how to tie their flies. And yeah, this is a good question. Has the lake and its ecosystem changed the last 30 years? It's a really good question, which I always ask myself. But what I noticed the last 3 decades is that the surface of the water, like the water level, has decreased a little bit. The vegetation in the lake, like plants and weed and stuff, has increased. There is less big fish than it was 10-15 years back. And there is significant drop on the Siren Arctic char. It's still there, but it's not anywhere close to in the amount that it was 10-15 years back. There are more brown trout in the lake than it was 20 years ago. And the Siren trout is disappearing, and that's what I'm kind of a little bit worried about, because in 2018 I caught 9 sea trouts, which is not too much really, and I always catch and release a sea trout there. I spare all of them. In 2019 I caught only 2, and last season 2020 I caught none, even though I went fishing in the lake for 23 days during the last summer. So I question myself what's happening, and if the salmon farming in the area, which is close by, if that is having, or if that had any impact on the Siren trout, like it has in other countries like Norway and Scotland, Ireland, and some other countries, which they are like having troubles with the salmon farming in the open nets in the sea. I'm not gonna discuss that. It's a hot potato, really. Is flounder part of the ecosystem in Sauðlauksdalur? I would say yes. There are to be found one and by flounders, but not in this size as you see on this slide here, but more like this size, just baby flounders. And I've never seen like a full-size flounder there, fortunately, because they eat the eggs from the Arctic char. There are other lakes in Iceland that the flounder has become kind of like a problem, because they are eating and feeding on the eggs from the Arctic char. And yeah, we are almost coming to an end. This is where the river runs from the lake and to the sea. This tiny little dam here, built in 2010. The idea with it was to raise the water level. It did, just for, I don't know, 10-15 centimeters. But this construction has to be like finished off. Like it would not harm the lake at all to raise the surface level up to, I don't know, 30-40 centimeters at least. Because during like a dry season, this lake just almost disappears. It doesn't disappear, but it's so shallow, and the fish is not anywhere close to the banks. It's just way out in the lake. So yeah, hopefully something will happen in that case in the very next years. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I think I deserve that, because from all the content I'm creating for you guys, both in Icelandic and in English for the rest of the world, of course. But yeah, you can get permits to the Sauðlauksdalsvatn or the Sauðlauksdal lake in Veiðikortið, in this link there. And you can have a look at the website. It's both in Icelandic and English. And yeah, this is it. And I will just want to say thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.